Hello and welcome to Chinwag. I'm Kim from Pooches Galore.
And I'm Carla at Completely Canine.
Today we're going to talk about online dog training, which has definitely increased massively since over the last 5 years since lockdown
Mm-hmm.
in a variety of
Yeah.
different ways, whether it's online consults, online training courses. And we're just going to discuss whether it works, in what cases it
Yep.
works, and whether it's right for you, I suppose.
Yeah. And we both do both. So we
Yeah,
both do online and we
exactly.
both do in person. So we've got a bit of both sides of that, I suppose,
Yeah,
haven't we?
yeah, definitely. Let's get into it.
Mm. Let's do it.
You're looking very summery today.
I am so hot. I can't deal with this humidity. I get really lethargic and a bit meh. So I'm wearing all of the appropriate but summery clothes that I can. You look like you're in winter.
Yeah, I'm wearing a jumper.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of rain this morning, so I think our air has cleared a little bit. We've got another heat wave coming this weekend, but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
also
as says
dressed for the
Monday's a bit
gym.
gross.
The what,
Okay.
sorry?
Then Monday looks gross.
Oh, does it? I don't look that
Yeah,
far
really
ahead.
gross.
What, rainy
Don't.
gross or too hot
No, like
gross?
34 degrees here again.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't like the heat too much. I don't like British
No.
heat. I like holiday heat.
Yeah, dry heat. I can
Dry
run in
heat,
dry heat.
yeah, I can do, yeah. Dry heat, and the same in winter. Like when I've been to Sweden in the depths of winter, it's so nice. The cold is so nice. It's not horrible like the cold we
Yeah,
have here.
yeah,
I just think
I
we have the
agree.
worst of all worlds.
We have such bad weather and we're British, so we can
Just
complain about it.
yeah, it does. Yeah, it's just not nice, and it's not nice for the dogs either. Stan is really not coping in this heat.
Yeah, and it's not like he's got a ton of fat on him either.
No, he doesn't
He's
have
a
a ton of
slight
fat on
dog.
him, and he doesn't have like a thick coat. It's very
No,
thin.
he's wiry.
Yeah, and he's just walking around like. I'm like, mate, it's 18 degrees. You're going to survive this one.
And you've got tiled floors.
Oh yeah, but they get really hot. That our tiled floors, because
Oh,
of the Veluxes and the bifold doors, there's bits of our tiled floor you can't
yeah.
stand on. You're better being outside on the patio.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Good
So
winter.
Millie, when she was alive, she used to find the squares of really hot tiles and lay on them. She was a sun worshipper. She would lay there
Oh,
panting but really happy. Stan's like, oh
yeah.
my God, everywhere's so hot. It's just too hot. I can't cope. Mate,
I
seriously.
feel his pain.
Yeah. Like he just kind of moves around and in uncomfortableness. So
Yeah. I think
happy.
some people like run hot or cold, and I've always been somebody who just runs hot. Like
Yeah.
I'm just a radiator. So yeah, I struggle with all weathers.
Yeah. I'm similar. I get too hot when I run at the minute. I'm not enjoying that at all.
Can imagine.
No. And it's just the
Nice.
humidity. I just feel like I'm running through pea soup or something.
I think it's swimming.
Yeah. It's not for me. Bring on winter training.
No.
Love winter training. And because also
No.
it does, I never feel like it rains that much either. So I never get rained on when I run.
My favorite is when I'm on holiday and I go at like 6 a.m. So it's like
Yeah.
warm, but it's like a bit windy and you're on a coast. And basically,
Yeah.
I'm just going to move to a coast.
I mean, in fairness, anything running by water, I'm much happier.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
running by the sea. So right then, online training. I started doing online training during lockdown when I had no choice.
Yeah. So like kicking and screaming and
Yeah,
crying, trying to understand how the hell it works.
yeah. And I remember being taught by my other half how to use Zoom.
Yeah. I got taught by my clients on the Zoom call, the first one, how to use it properly. I was like, guys, is there a way that I can mute you all on here? And they were like, yeah, okay, you go through here and you go through here. Like they were paying for my time
Yeah.
and I was asking them how to actually use it, but it's the only way.
I did a Zoom call with John. He was downstairs, I was upstairs. Like, how do I do this? How do I share a screen?
That's a great idea.
It was
I didn't have
mental.
anyone to show me that.
No. And now it's just so like second nature. Any of the
Yeah.
platforms. I've got them all covered. Although I do have, I refuse to use Teams because I do all of Alice's home schooling on Teams, and I literally have post-traumatic stress from it. It literally makes me feel like I can feel the stress rising with it. So it's the one I tend to avoid at all costs. So yeah. And I definitely threw myself in for a learning curve because we didn't have a choice. And so I learned how to teach without teaching a dog very quickly.
I was also like, I'm one of these people who just doesn't get on with technology and everything seems to go wrong. And I'm not, I'm not saying that it's the world against me, but it is. And I was in a house share. I was living in a house share. So I'd come back from New Zealand on a next day flight because the borders were closing and I was out traveling. So I literally got here. I was in a house share with 5 other professionals. We had very limited internet and all worked from home. And I was trying to move my company online and teach classes. So I had to have a rota for which days I needed to be in the kitchen or in the living room, and how everyone could minimize how much usage they had so that I can actually run a class. Like, it was so many levels of stressful trying to get it to work. I was sitting on my house share living room floor trying to position my old laptop to get it to work. And I mean, got through it.
We got through it. And I thought that, I mean, I learned during that time that there are some things that are actually slightly better done online. I still would prefer to do my initial consults online because they are more focused, and I get clients to video their dogs doing the behavior that they're worried about and watching them back online without the stress of the dog doing anything at the moment, and allowing people to watch body language, I think is really beneficial. Not so much that I prefer teaching in person. Generally, I prefer doing stuff in the moment with their clients, but I do find that sometimes the online sessions really focus attention without the dog. I mean, obviously the dog's there in the client's house, but it's not they're not stressing about what the dog's doing because we're focusing on something else. The dog's chilled at home, which I find quite useful. And I do all of my separation anxiety work online.
Yeah, that's quite normal now, I think, isn't it, for separation anxiety specialists?
Yeah, because if we're there, we generally change the dog's behavior. So I can have clients leave their dog, they can leave their laptop or phone or whatever it is, recording or just being on the Zoom call. They can go out and I can observe the dog without being there. So it actually works so much better. And for a lot of my separation anxiety clients, once we've done a couple of sessions together, we're just catching up and tweaking and, changing a few things. It doesn't involve a full hour a lot of the time. It is just kind of a catch up. Where are we at? Right, this is what we need to add in now. This is where we're at with durations. Let's run through a session and then we're done.
Yeah, it makes no sense for you to go and see them because again, like you said, you can't see that behavior in its normal capacity. And also, like with things like separation anxiety, it's progression, but it's micro progressions. So you're only going to be like, okay, I'm here for 45 minutes. Let's do 10 more seconds out the door, and then you go again. It makes no sense for you to travel that far to go do that, does it?
No. And like this afternoon, I've got a call with people in Canada, so I can work wherever with it as well. It doesn't have to be UK based or even Harrogate based. It's literally, most of my separation anxiety clients are all over at least the country, but I've got several in Europe and further. I've had clients in Australia. They've been sat down with a glass of wine. I've got my first coffee of the day. It's all very weird, but it works because it's all online. So there are huge positives to working online. And I've worked with resource guarding online. I've worked with dog to dog aggression online. I do find sometimes working with dogs who are fear of strangers, working with them online is really useful because it means I can see the dog when they're really relaxed and they're not stressing because they've got the stranger that they're fearful of in the room as well. So I don't think there's anything I haven't taught online now.
And I think that's where people maybe think there isn't value in it, in that you are, because you are not physically meeting the dog, that you can't see the dog and help the dog as they are. But I think maybe when you first start out training and behavior, you're still learning. So actually to be able to be around a
Yes.
dog and to see how the people interact with
Yeah.
their dog is really good. But when you've been doing it for like years, you can get a pretty good idea quite
Yeah.
quickly, can't you?
Yeah.
And like you said, for me, the big thing is like I find people find it really hard to concentrate on what you're actually saying when they're so like, is the dog gonna approach the trainer? Is the dog gonna do
Yeah.
something? Is the dog feeling okay?
Yeah.
There's like this emotional like, ooh.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're on the camera, the dog's generally
People
like
do
just
tend to
asleep.
just ignore their dog you're on
Yeah.
a Zoom call. It's quite rare, mainly because I think the dogs are also quite used to us doing Zoom calls now, or whatever kind of calls, and so they go, oh, they're doing that thing, talking to themselves again. I'll just go to sleep. Whereas when there's new people in the house, and then a lot of the session when you go to someone's houses, we'll make drinks. There'll be a lot more like settling, so you use a lot of your session doing kind of just normal stuff. Whereas with Zoom calls, you're almost, everything okay? Had a good week? Right, let's crack on with it.
Yeah,
So,
sure. There's also, you know, on another spectrum of it, there's an element of safety for us with some things as well. If you're working with dogs that are reactive or stranger phobic, then with the nicest of intentions, for some people, they put us in a situation where, you know, they've maybe not told the whole story of how the dog is with a visitor, and you know, and one of the local behaviourists that I work with, I was chatting to him yesterday, and he said that he went into somebody's house for a completely different matter last week after doing his whole thing and got attacked by a dachshund. So I was like, okay.
But even so, like if it bites the bottom, even like a tiny little dog, if they get the bottom of your leg, you could be out of work. What, you know, you can't necessarily walk if you've got that kind of injury, and we do have to look after ourselves. Or even if you know you're going into a reactive dog household, often people, it's not that they don't tell the whole truth intentionally. They'll play it down, or there'll be something where they're not kind of, as a professional, you see things a bit differently, I think. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. And so they'll be like, oh no, they're fine when people come in the house. And then you go in and you're like, oh no, they're not. Like, can I sit down? Is that okay if I'm going to sit here? I'm going to sit really still. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to make eye contact. I'm going to try and relax. But because it's kind of become normal to them, they don't see things quite the same way.
Yeah. And then there are the handful that I've experienced where they want to see what the dog trainer will do.
Yes.
So they will just let the dog do more than they would with normal visitors, even if you say, please, can you do what you normally do with your visitors?
That baby gate that I can see over there. Do you want to pop your dog behind it? Because
please.
Because we are not superhuman. And if the dog bites us, it's just the same as, and also we will have met that dog for a minute, and we've made a lot of assessments in that minute, and we've sat down, but we also don't know what the triggers necessarily are. You know, is it when I move? Is it when I leave? Is that going to be a problem? The dog could be fine the whole time, but when I leave, is it going to be a problem? So we're good, but when we're not mind readers. We don't know what's going to happen at every point during a consultation. So there are a huge number. I think there's a huge number of positives for online training. I know that there's times when it doesn't work and it's not appropriate, but I do think for a lot of dogs in the initial stages, it can be really helpful.
I totally agree with you with that, and especially regarding assessments and very specific behavior problems. For me, puppy training, like you said, I actually really enjoyed teaching it online, and I felt like, especially in the first maybe 2 sessions, people got 10 times more out of their training because they didn't have a lead.
They didn't have a lead, and they weren't competing with 5 other dogs in the class.
They weren't trying to, like, the dog is in a learning capacity because it's relaxed, and then they could build up the base foundations, you know, and people can learn about the, you know, their timing skills like that, and then the dog has already built some foundation so that if you do go into group classes, you've got engagement, you've
Yeah.
got, you know. But I think again, there's this whole thing around puppies need to learn in the environment that is like the most difficult, which is a puppy class. Like puppy class is never, you're never going to get anything harder than an actual puppy class environment.
And we talked a few weeks ago about like generalizing that training. Learning in a puppy class, that's great. If you want to compete with your dog doing something where you're going to be in a strange environment with other dogs around, but fundamentally that environment is useless for 90+% of people and their puppies. They need their dog to be able to do stuff at home, on walks, in a cafe. Like teaching and learning in different environments is maybe more helpful. And I don't think owners got quite as frustrated, because when you do have a puppy in that first puppy class and they're like, oh my god, there's 6 other people, 5 other dogs, and treats everywhere, I can smell this and that, and there's so much going on. And then we're like, okay, so we're going to teach a sit. So we're just going to pop the treat above the dog's nose, take it over the top of their head, and they're going to sit beautifully.
The dog's going,
and the dog's like, and yes, as a trainer, we can help and we can step in and we can explain and maybe give the dog more space. And there's lots that we can do. But if you can do that at home in a quiet space, then your dog's going to be more successful, and that's going to have a bigger dopamine hit for both of you. And that's going to encourage you to do more training.
Yeah, I had this conversation with someone yesterday, actually, a client of mine who's really lovely, first-time puppy parent. And because my current puppy group is much smaller, just had less bookings this time round, whereas the next one's more busy. We've been doing, I love it when they're smaller, because I can talk more about body language, I can do live commentary of any social interactions they have. And for people who are first-time puppy parents, like to be able to have more of a focused session together, like they learn so much more about handling and stuff, and it's the confidence builder. But she asked me if they could move to the next group halfway through the course, because she wanted to learn around more puppies, because that's the point, the dog should be socializing. And I was like, your socialization is really important, but I think for you, I'm really honest with you, I think you need to have this so that you can learn more, and so that your puppy can feel confident around one dog first, not that many, because that would be so overwhelming. And just talking about how overwhelming the puppy would be, and they would.
And I mean, I'm going to take us off on a tangent, not for long, but socialization isn't about playing with as many puppies as possible. Like that is not appropriate and good socialization. Socialization is actually learning to not engage with every dog you see, is learning to play with some dogs because they're giving off these signals, and avoiding these dogs because they're giving off these signals. And I think the whole dog training industry think it's coming out of it now, but it went through a real phase of mass puppy classes, past the puppy type behaviours, off lead play with as many puppies as you can find in a vet's waiting room, and all of that, and not actually. And that's where we've got this, my dog's friendly, i.e. I can't recall them away from another dog because they have learned to see a dog play with a dog. And actually that isn't socialization.
No, this is where all the, right back when I first started learning, it was the Dunbar, serious puppy. All of them start off lead, and you have to, in that environment, then be able to pass them around, manage them, and do all that learning. And actually that's like deep end. Deep end of trying to learn, flooding completely. And I think we've maybe gone maybe too far the other way, where now it's neutrality around everything, no socialization for a lot of dogs, and we sort of need to teeter back into the center again, where we're balancing a little bit. But no, off lead puppy groups and socials might be cute, they might teach some really good social skills, but actually for you as a benefit for your general life with your dog, it's not realistic, and it's not particularly helpful to anyone.
No, and some people are going to turn up to an in-person puppy class expecting that kind of huge off-lead group puppy play, and the puppy classes that I would teach don't have that in it. They have like nice greeting behavior, etc. And doing stuff online, yes, it does take that away completely, but equally it gives us as trainers the time to say, right, this week what I would like you to do is find a friend with a calmish older dog and go for a walk together. Like
Yeah.
that is really good socialization. I want you to go to the play park in your town and just sit and watch the world for 10-15 minutes, or go to a coffee shop, do the same thing. That is socialization, not be in a class with as many other dogs as possible and hope that they survive it.
Yeah. And I like that. The buddy walks, I think, is amazing. And we did have some of our classes where, because they were all on a group WhatsApp, every class I have is on a group WhatsApp. And some of them, I said, well, if you want to meet up, like you can, tick on here if you're happy and open to that. And if you want to meet up 2 of you and do a paired session where you're building up confidence, because we could do that in lockdown as well. You could do that. And that worked really well. So it was really interesting. And then coming out of lockdown, when everyone was like, I need to socialize, but it then kind of went the other way, where people were like, oh, I don't want to look at a computer screen. I don't want to be on it. I've been on it for an entire year and I want to be out in the world. And my agility school just went woof through the roof and was really busy with waiting lists, because people were like, I just want to get out and do something. Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of come back down a bit now. We've got used to being at home and we quite like it.
We can do a bit of both. Like we're all more adjusted to life again now. But I do think that I think you have to also understand your own dog as to whether a group class, a one-to-one, or online is going to be best for them, and listen to the advice of the person that you're contacting. So because of my CCAB label, I get a lot of people from quite far away coming to me because there aren't millions of us. And so often I will say, I can come to you, but there will be a travel charge, or this will work perfectly online. Like I can 100% teach this online. And that can be a factor as well. If the person you want to work with isn't local, still contact them, because if they're confident enough, they will be able to teach it online. And if not, they can refer you to somebody that's similar.
I also think as well, if you use a lot of like online resources to pass over to people, you can navigate that together and screen share and stuff when you're on there, and say, no, with your, like, I don't know whether you do it with your separation anxiety, if you use a specific tool on there where people can sort of check in and catch up on there. I know some people do. You can screen share with them and show them how to fill it in. So there's, do you know what I mean? And also with me with equipment, what I used to do is to screen share and say, like, this is the type of leads that I would use for this. Here is an example of what I would use for this, or body language. Here's a thing for, this is what you're looking for in your dog. Like, it's so useful.
I've got so many, like I've got a little library of, especially body language, of just really random YouTube videos of dogs. And I will have taught something about kind of subtle stress signs in dogs. And then I'll be like, right, now we're going to watch this video and I want you to tell me what you see. And it's not their dog and it's not their situation. It's just a video that I found that shows nicely 3 or 4 examples. And it's not a test, it's just learning. Because when I was at uni, we did it. We spent about 3 days at uni watching YouTube videos of dogs and cats and horses. No, I'm not so good on my cats and horses. I know if a cat goes and like, oh,
that's probably
like,
not good.
Other than that, I'm pretty much out. Horses, I'm completely out. But my lecturer was a horse expert, so I learned a lot, but forgot it instantly. And it is a really good way, because you don't have the stress of trying to see it with your dog when there's another dog approaching or a person approaching. You can just sit back and be like, oh, I saw that. And then I'll often say to people, next time you're in a cafe, if there's dogs there, just watch their body. Like, obviously don't get like obsessed by it, but just watching when the waitress or waiter approaches, what does the dog do? What does that tell you? And I said that is the easiest way to learn. And that's where online does have huge benefits.
Yeah, for sure. I think I always try and think as like a personal experience as well for me as a learner. It depends what it is for me. So if I was going to a dog training or behaviour, webinar, seminar, whatever, my preference is in person. And that's just because I like to go out for the day and go and do something, and I can chat to people. And I know that my internet, sometimes can be a little bit up and down in my old house.
We've never worked this out doing this podcast the number of times.
So for me, it's just that like peace of mind of I can just go out for a day, I can enjoy it, I can chat to people, I can do whatever. And I like to be immersed in the space. but sometimes I can also find it really overstimulating. So in terms of, you know, people coming into class environments, some people have anxiety, do not want to come to
No,
group classes.
no,
Being online and having their camera off is always an option if they
perfect.
want it
Yeah.
off. So I'm more than happy to do that. And yeah, that's the thing. I think I always try and think about it. Everyone has a different learning experience.
Yes.
So
For me,
yeah,
it
it's
depends
good to
how
have
long.
flexibility.
Yeah, for me, it depends how long. Like if I'm listening to some CPD in a webinar, I will tend to have that on in the background, headphones in, cleaning my house, listening
Yeah.
to it while I do other stuff. Because
Mm.
generally, unless it's something brand new, I have enough knowledge to, and I'm just topping it up. So I'm not bothered about sitting and watching. I
Yeah.
can't sit and watch a webinar that I'm not engaged with. So I will do
Yeah.
other stuff. If it's new stuff or if it's over maybe 2 hours, then I need to be more in person. I need to be like a bit more hands-on because my brain will just be like, no, we're done. Switch off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find if I'm at home with that sort of stuff, like the DBC, when I've done that, like there's
What's the
so much
DBC just
content.
for?
The Dog Behaviour Conference, the annual one. So it's like I've enjoyed the bits that I've seen, but because it's my choice when I dip in and out of it, it's not always live.
Yeah.
I just forget to go back, or I get distracted
Yeah.
by making food, or I get distracted by, like, I see my garden and I'm like, I want to, that's annoying me, I'm going to go do that gardening. So I just end up like, my brain just goes into other universes and wants to do
Yeah.
other things.
Whereas, see, I would just listen to that while I was on a dog walk, and then it would just
Yeah.
passively go into my brain.
It depends. With a lot of that stuff, I like to note take, because if I note take, it forces me to like
Focus.
retain it more. I have to just jot stuff.
And I think that's the nice thing about having lots of different ways to get information. So
yeah,
but I think ultimately, don't write off online training.
100%.
It does work in all situations. If the trainer or behaviourist is happy to provide it, then they have the confidence to do it, whether that's group training or online courses or online sessions. But I think also understand what's going to be best for you as the individual who's paying the money. If you're like, no, I really don't like sitting online, I would like to get a feel for the trainer or behaviourist, or, you know, then find what works for you. But it is possible if you want to work with someone that's outside of your area as well. It is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, and like we said, like if it's a speciality or if it's, you know, a specific behavior thing, that's most of them can be done online, like because they're pretty.
Oh, separation anxiety 100% is better online, I think. So.
Yeah.
Right, I'll see you next week.
See you next week.